Hey guys, I'm not here, but you get to watch a video of me doing your notes. So, start with the topic, distributive property. That's what we're working on today. You've seen it before in math, but we've got to go over it again because we are still in reviewing stage. We will have a test on Thursday. So we'll get a chance to go over this again tomorrow together, but I do want you to give it a shot today. See what you can remember. Do the best that you can. I want you to try the majority of the problems that you can. So with distributive property, we've got A being multiplied through our parentheses to B plus C. Each term in the parentheses is going to get multiplied by A. So we've got A times B, and then we're going to multiply the A by C as well to end up with AC. So this is a general rule. It's just fitting letters. Numbers can fill in for these as well as other variables. We can also do the same thing with subtracting. We've got AB minus AC. Okay, again, just a general rule for distributing through parentheses. However many terms are inside the parentheses, that's how many times you are going to multiply. So multiply by the first term, multiply by the second term. Okay. On number 1, we're going to take 7 times x. Basically, we end up with 7x, because 7 times x is 7x. Then we need to continue multiplying to the second term. 7 times 4 is 28. And after that, we look to see if there's any common terms, like terms, things like that. Because 7 has an x and 28 does not, this is the farthest we can take it. This is what we call simplified. Okay? Simplified. Means I reduced it to its simplest terms. These are the simplest terms. I can't do anything more to it. So I'm going to skip number 2 and leave that for you. On number 3, I've got a negative 4 timesing by a y. Now that y, if you remember, we had a discussion about variables that didn't have numbers in front of them. You can put a 1 in front of that y, and so now you're technically multiplying the two numbers. Negative 1 times negative 4 gives us a negative 4. That y is attached to the 1 though, and so it needs to follow through and attach itself to the negative 4 as well. That negative 4 is going to get multiplied to the 3. So I've got negative 4 times 3 should give us a negative 12. Okay, I take a look at it, see if there's anything that I can combine for like terms. There's not, so this is all done. We're in simplified form. Okay, when you take your tests and other things, when it asks you to distribute, it will either ask you to distribute or it will ask you to simplify. Just straight up simplify. Number 4 is pretty much like number 3. I am going to move on to number 5. If you notice, there's a negative sign outside the parentheses, and some people know what to do with that, other people don't. Usually what we can do is if there's a negative in front of parentheses, we can put a 1 there. That becomes a negative 1, and remember that y, it also has a 1 in front of it. So we're going to take this negative 1, times it by 1, and we get a negative 1. And then the 1 inside the parentheses had the y attached to it, so then we bring that out as well. For others, you might see that there's a negative times a y, and it's just straight up negative y. Okay. Then we take the negative 1, multiply it by a negative 9, should give us a positive 9, because a negative times a negative makes a positive. Okay, I'm going to leave number 6 for you. Number 7, try that one. Try number 8. Try number 9. Let's see, number 10 you should be able to do. If you need to, put 1s in front of those variables. Number 11, now we're starting to get into something a little different. We have an x times a y. If you want, you can put 1s in front of that. So now we're taking 1 times 1, gives us a 1. But when we multiply letters, we just write them together. So I've got 1xy. I'm going to take that x and also multiply it by the 4, and we typically write the number in front and then the letter behind it. Okay, so my answer should be 1xy plus 4x. Try the same thing on number 12. On number 13, I've got 6a times b, or 6a times 1b, however you would like to look at it. 6 times 1 is 6, a times b is ab. Okay, take the 6, multiply it to 6a times it to the next term, so 6 times 2 is positive 12. And then a times c becomes an ac. Okay, we don't have to write dots or anything. We don't have to use parentheses. The most simplified form of it will just have the 2 letters together. Okay, on number 14, just like everything else, we multiply through the parentheses. Since there's 3 terms inside the parentheses, we need to multiply to each of those terms. So I've got 2 times x makes 2x. 2 times minus y makes a minus 2y. And then 2 times 8 makes a 16. Okay, so you're doing the same thing with 15, only you're multiplying the x through. It's going to be very similar to what we did on number 11 and 13. Okay, on number 16, we can take our calculator and actually type in 1/4 times 8. And when we do that, we get a 2x. Okay, I'm going to take 1/4 in my calculator and times that by minus 4, and that should give us a -1. So on number 16, we're getting 2x minus 1 because I'm taking the fractions. Since I'm not very comfortable with them, I'm taking the fractions and plugging them into my calculator. I'm doing a control divide to get the 1/4 boxes that I can fill in. I'm going to arrow to the right and then type in times 8. That will give you this 2 right here. Do the same thing again for 1/4 times -4. Alright, let's do number 18 together. I'm going to have you try number 17, but we'll do number 18 together. I've got 1/8 times 4/5. If I plug this into my calculator with a control divide and then type in -1/8, arrow to the right, type in control divide, and then 4/5, I should get a -1/10 x. Then I'm going to take the -1/8, times it by a -24, and I should be getting a positive 3. Okay, you're welcome to try it in your head, but I do recommend, if you're not comfortable with fractions, go ahead and use the fractions. Okay. The next part, on the next part, it's combining like terms. We talked about this, not a whole lot, but a little bit. What happens with combining like terms is if there is distribution to do, you're going to do the distribution. Okay. We're going to take 8 times 2x, which should make 16x. Then we're going to take that 8 and multiply it by the minus 3, which should give us a -24. And then this parenthesis here says stop multiplying, which means that this -6 stays the same. Nothing happens to it, it just stays the same. From here, this is a like term with the -6, so really I've got 16x minus 6x minus 24. Again, these are like each other, so then I can take 16x minus 6x. I end up with a 10x minus 24. Since it won't simplify any farther because my x terms are by itself, my number terms are by itself, then that is simplified and I'm all done. Okay. On the next one, you're going to multiply through and then stop. And then this -2 or -2 is going to multiply through on the next term. So I really am worried about you guys doing this. I'm more interested in you guys practicing these problems up top. But if you get done because you feel fairly comfortable with it, I do want you to try these down here. I will note on number 21 that this 10, nothing is happening to it, and so I'm not doing anything. I'm not multiplying it. I'm just going to rewrite it. I'm going to take this negative, I can put a 1 right here and start distributing it through the parentheses. So I end up with a negative, I'm going to use a 1y. I'm going to use that negative times it by the negative 6 to make a positive 6. And then because this minus y is outside the parentheses, nothing is happening to it, so I just rewrite it as it is. Okay, I'll let you take it from there. On number 23, these are very much like what we did on 16 and 17. Please use a calculator to find out what your fractions are. You can add and subtract fractions in the calculator. Worst case scenario, we'll wait to do these until I come back on Wednesday. Now on the other side, there's some old school, middle school stuff. Instead of going, and this is a plus sign by the way, instead of doing 4 plus 6 times 5, if you'll do the distribution property or distributive property with it and try it that way. So for instance, I've got 5 times 4 is 20, then 5 times 6 is 30, then add together to get 50. That would be what we want to practice here. Okay, so there is a point to this. This right here is a minus sign, so leave it as a minus sign. This one here, plus. Down here, we're going to save those until I come back on Wednesday. And then number 7, Jane put down 500 on a used car. Then she paid, so here's 500 down. And then she pays $255 per month. And then she wants to do that for 9 months. So see if you can figure out, either using an expression, an equation, or anything like that, see if you can figure out number 7, and we'll talk about that again when I come back on Wednesday. So we'll finish this up on Wednesday. You have a test on Thursday, and we'll go from there, kind of see where we're at, and we'll continue with our unit and learning and reviewing our algebra basics. I hope you have a good day. Hope you had a good weekend. And I'll see you when I give back tomorrow. Bye.